Man, what's going on, YouTube? This is Adam Fresh, aka Freshcasso. This is my YouTube channel, Freshcasso 1 TV, man. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Man, hit that subscribe button. It ain't gonna do nothing but make me want to drop more and more dope content, so subscribe. So the first thing we gonna do, man, we gonna take this cordless FX clipper and create a guideline along the base of the temporal bone, and we're gonna drop it under the occipital bone in the back. That's what deemed this haircut as the drop fade. The fact that it dropped under the occipital bone and it kind of disguises it a little bit. Alright, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our 1.5 on our cordless Babyliss FX clipper, and we're going to create a guideline that's 1 inch. And we're gonna make sure that we follow the shape of the head by following the temporal bone. And we're gonna go across the occipital bone to the other side of the head on the other temporal bone. This gives us a guide where we start our fade. The reason why I like to do this is 2 reasons. I like to create a guideline so that the haircut is balanced on both sides. And the other reason I like to start my guideline so dark is because I like to add more depth to my fade. Now what I'm doing now is I'm taking my 1.5 and I have it wide open, and I'm creating another 1 inch guideline above the one I just did and right under the parietal ridge. Once you got those 2 guidelines, you gotta blend them together by working through those notches. So right now I'm doing all the way open and 1 notch down. Then I'm gonna work my way down in the fade. So the next one I do would be the 2nd notch down a little bit lower. And you're gonna fade through those notches all the way back until you get to the point where you were closed at the bottom of the 1.5. If you haven't had a chance to use these cordless FX clippers, man, they're pretty sharp. They're not the most powerful clipper, but they're really, really sharp, so they don't have to be very powerful, I guess what I'm trying to say. But if you use them, go ahead, comment and tell me what you thought about them. What I'm doing now, man, is I'm taking my number 2 and I got it all the way closed, and I'm trying to make the hair match up to the point where my client has that soft spot in the front. You probably won't be able to get it exactly like it is because, you know what I'm saying, soft spots are variations of things. It could be a less amount of hairs, or it could be a change in the pattern of the hair and the way that they trained it. But, you know what I'm saying, you gotta kind of just get it to match up as close as possible. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this hair and I'm combing it in a direction around the crown, and I'm following it with the clipper because you don't want to cut into hair that you haven't combed because you'll cause gaps. So don't be afraid to grab your client's head and put it into the position that you're trying to cut it in, because you want to be able to put the hair into the light so that you can see it. So now I have my 1.5 all the way open, and I'm cutting where I used the 2 at, because your 1.5 open is the same length but a little bit shorter as your number 2 all the way closed. So right now I'm just tightening up my work that I did with my number 2. Now I'm gonna fade against the grain along the parietal ridge to make the top of my client's head and the temporal bones meet. The reason why I'm using my number 2 open is because my number 2 open is the same thing as your number 2 closed with the grain. So your number 2 open against the grain is the same thing as your number 2 closed with the grain. So you want to make sure, like I said, you want to make sure you're combing that hair in the right direction. I'm following up with my 1.5 open because your 1.5 open is the same thing as your number 2 closed, but a little shorter. You wanna make sure you work that crown real well so that the hairs are not sticking up. So now what you're doing is you're gonna take your number 1 guard and you're gonna create another guideline at the bottom of the fade. You wanna make sure you follow the same pattern as your guideline. You wanna do the same thing on both sides. Of course, you're gonna have to adjust for lumps in people's heads and things like that, but for the most part, you wanna use the same guideline on both sides so you can have balance. Now, you're getting into the reason why I say I like to start dark when I fade, because you can create so much depth and you can make those layers blend and mesh so well. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my number 1 and I got it wide open. The reason why I got it wide open is, if you remember, we cut this area with the 1.5 against the grain closed. Your 1.5 against the grain closed is the same length as your 1 open, but the 1 open is a little bit shorter, so it makes those 2 guards blend together. You want to follow the shape of the head because you want the fade to bend with the shape of the head. Now I'm working through the notches like I did with the 1.5. I'm going from open to 1 notch under open, 2 notches under open, 3 notches, which is halfway under open, then, you know what I'm saying, the next notch up and then closed, right? So you're gonna do that with your number 1 guard, and as you can see, we're creating the fade effect. As you can see, man, if you stay consistent with those guides, like I'm doing right now with this clipper all the way open, and I don't have a guard on it. Now, true enough, when I do this, it's gonna create another guideline above it. We're gonna worry about that later. But what we're doing now is we're creating a guideline for the bottom of the fade where it's gonna meet to skin. You're gonna start all the way open. You're gonna follow the same pattern that you did with all of the other guards. Alright? Then you're gonna start working that fade, staying consistent with your strokes, making sure that clipper's flat against the head. The smoother your stroke, the more uniform the cut is gonna be. You don't wanna scrape your client's head. You want that clipper to glide, especially in the area that we're working in right now, the skin above the temporal bone and the nape. Those areas are most prone to razor bumps and folliculitis and all type of different skin problems because of the nature that you cut this hair. Now typically we like to make our fades really bald at the bottom, and that's fine, but it's all about how you achieve the baldness. When you're making something bald, you don't really want to push down on the skin, because when you push down on the skin, the hairs poke out of the skin a little bit more. And if you cut them and let the skin go, the hairs that were level at the skin when you cut will sink into the skin. When they grow back, they get trapped, and that's how you get razor bumps. So I told you that we were creating a line when we were using the no guard all the way open, we were creating a line. And you're gonna use what's known as the 0.5, which comes in the Babylist fade systems and the wall fade systems. You could achieve the same fade with a pair of Andes Masters or a pair of Oster Fast Feeds with 2 guards, which are the 1 and the 0. And I believe Andes came out with a 0.5 guard and a 1.5 guard, but I haven't seen anyone use them because, like I said, you can achieve the same fade with the 1 and the 0. Now, if you want to see me use a certain type of clipper, just comment below and I'll upload content with that clipper. The Babylist is just my weapon of choice today because it's lightweight. It's very sharp, so the fades come out really crispy. And I'm shooting these videos by myself. I don't have a cameraman, so I need to be able to be mobile when I'm barbering. So yeah, I'm working through this fade, man, and just locating little flaws in the fade. You know what I'm saying? At first, when you first start barbering, you probably won't be able to see the flaws. But as you know what I'm saying, progress in your craft, you're gonna notice little flaws in your fade, and you're gonna go back with the same guards that you used, and you're gonna touch up those layers. And when you do that, go through all the layers, you're gonna notice that your fades are gonna get more blurry. Alright, so I'm gonna pull out my bevel trimmer and I'm gonna remove that bulk from the bottom of the fade. And I got a lot of slack for liking this trimmer, but I really thoroughly enjoy this trimmer, and it's just my opinion. You're gonna use that trimmer to bump that line and make that fade connect. So the objective of cleaning up that hair is to not damage the skin. You don't want to irritate your client. But you want to make sure all that hair is gone. And when you get rid of the bulk at the bottom, you'll notice flaws in your fades. And it's never too late to go back and fix a flaw in the fade. The objective is to please your client, make sure it's fade fresh, you know what I'm saying, and make them want to come back. That's what it's about, man. It's about applying pressure, man, getting better every single day, learning something new, being consistent. If you stay consistent, you're gonna stay booked. That's big facts. Speaking of booking, which booking service do you use? Do you use Booksy? Do you use Squire, the cut app? You know what I'm saying? I have Booksy. I've been considering switching to Squire. Should I switch? Comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me how those services work for you. I'm about to start up this edge up, man. I always start in the middle, you know what I'm saying? Lining it up with the tip of the nose, the flattest part. I like to work from side to side, again coming back to the middle so that I can achieve a balance. Your middle point is always going to be the balance. So yeah, you want to make sure you comb those hairs into place so you can see how they're going to lay naturally in the line. When you're doing an edge up, you always want to make sure that your client's head is toward you, because it's hard to line up a edge straight off to the side to a person. So you make sure you turn your client's head to you so that you don't be double working. Now, as a word of advice, you should always do your top line first when you're doing the edge up, because if you don't have a straight top line and you're trying to do those the curves on the side, they're gonna be crooked because you don't have anything to gauge them to. You have no reference point. So the top line for your edge up is the reference point, and the reference point of the top line is the center of the edge up. So now I'm going to use the magic pencil. Now the reason why I use the magic pencil is for two reasons. One of them is everybody's obsessed with the white line, but my client's light skinned, so that really doesn't matter with him. So why am I using it? The reason why I'm using it is because when you're using an airbrush or any type of enhancement such as fibers or anything, you're gonna have spillage on the side of the card or whatever you're using. Now, if it touches the skin, then it might stain the skin and you'll have it on the forehead. You gotta do some extra scraping to get it off. Or you can use alcohol to clean it off. But if you got the magic pencil there in that place, the seepage is gonna just, you know what I'm saying, usually it'll fall right on that and it'll be easier to get off. And the edge will come out actually cleaner because it's like having a piece of scotch tape on the wall when you're painting, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, man, you're gonna start seeing flaws when you put your enhancements on. And you know what I'm saying, it's your job to go back and touch them up because you wanna make sure you're giving out a quality product. So now I'm gonna lock in the enhancement with the spritz, and I'm gonna hit the edge up right where I put the magic pencil. And as you can see, it's removing that dye really well, really sharp, really clean. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna remove all of that magic pencil with my trimmer, and then I'll follow that up with a razor blade. The blade that I use is a Dorco Prime, and I really like them. If you ever use the Dorco Prime, man, comment below and tell me what you think. If you don't like it, man, tell me what your favorite razor blade is. I might have to change it. I might have to try it, not change it. I really like the Dorco Primes. But yeah, man, that's the Drop Fade. Like, share, subscribe. And go follow me on my Instagram, man, at Freshcasso. Thanks for tuning in.